Kaneshikawa approaches Kita-kun, nervously asking about the document they discussed the previous day. Kita, with a laid-back attitude, apologizes, explaining that it is not yet ready. Kaneshikawa questions whether it will be ready before noon. Kita, still unsure, stammers out his uncertainty. Kaneshikawa tries to tell him to do as much as he can, but his words are cut off. Someone strictly calls out to Kita-kun, her back straight and her stride confident as she walks towards him. Misato confronts him. She stands tall with an imposing presence, her arms relaxed but her expression serious. She reminds Kita that it has been a week since Kaneshikawa-san asked him to complete the task, and it should have been finished in just 3 days. Her sharp tone cuts through the silence as she questions his professionalism, emphasizing that he should be able to manage his time better. Kita, visibly flustered, stammers out an apology. Misato corrects his wording, instructing him on how to properly address his superiors. As her glare intensifies, Kita quickly corrects himself, offering a more formal apology. Misato finishes the conversation with a cold command. The document must be finished by noon. Her eyes narrow, watching him intently to ensure her words are understood. Misato moves through the office with a sense of purpose. As Misato walks away, her coworker comments that while she may be intimidating, she is highly competent and logical in everything she does. Kaneshikawa watches her from a distance, agreeing silently but adding that she is also scary. She hands Kaneshikawa-san several documents, including the minutes of yesterday's meeting and various proposal documents for review. Kaneshikawa thanks her, acknowledging how much work she has done. Misato warns him that his overly kind demeanor is being taken advantage of. Her sharp gaze bears down on him as she reminds him to maintain more dignity when dealing with subordinates. Kaneshikawa, looking worried, promises to do his best. Even now, she berates that he should be telling her off instead of agreeing with her. He cannot see why he shouldn't agree with her, as her words are logical. As it is at noon, it is time for break. He is beginning to leave for lunch when another person also joins him in the elevator. He keeps the door open, and Misato thanks him. He shares how Kita-kun managed to submit the work before noon after all. She believes that much is to be expected. With a fiery look, she claims he is too soft. Walking outside, he mentions he will pick up lunch from the convenience store. Misato walks beside him, her usual reserved expression in place. Kaneshikawa mentions grabbing a bento, to which Misato is confused as to why he isn't eating something proper. At a restaurant, Kita excitedly eats a roast beef bowl, commenting on how delicious and reasonably priced it is. Misato sits across from him, her expression as calm and unreadable as ever, quietly listening. Misato suggests that he, who earns more than her, should treat himself to something more proper. This sort of stings. As he continues eating, he commends the dish while remarking that it is his first time trying the dish. He is surprised at how light it feels on his stomach. Misato acknowledges this with a nod, expressing some relief that it suits him. Misato claims that the treat is on her this time. As they leave the restaurant, Kaneshikawa asks if Misato would mind him stopping by a convenience store to get a drink. She agrees, waiting outside as he heads in. Misato stands by herself. Someone passing by is immediately attracted to her. The two men approach her with casual yet intrusive remarks, asking if she is on a break from work and pressing her for her contact information. Misato remains silent, her gaze sharp but indifferent, completely ignoring their advances. The men, amused by her cold demeanor, comment to each other that she is ignoring them. One of the men notices her company name tag and reaches out to grab it, making a remark about her appearance. Just as things escalate, Kaneshikawa arrives. Kaneshikawa calmly steps between Misato and the men, apologizing to them, but explaining that privacy regulations at their company are strict and they cannot disclose that kind of information. He maintains a light, polite demeanor, but his words make it clear that he's firm in his stance. He explains that they are not even allowed to give out business cards unless it's to colleagues or business partners. His calm presence diffuses the situation, and the men decide to leave. Misato lowers her gaze and apologizes to Kita, feeling she has caused him trouble by not handling the situation herself. Kaneshikawa, in his usual soft manner, waves off her apology and says he should not have left her alone in the first place, even if it was just for a short while. Misato gently suggests that he use the same assertiveness with his subordinates as he did when dealing with outsiders. He quickly offers Misato a small gift, chocolate, and thanks her for her hard work. Misato, though still serious, accepts it and thanks him in return. As Kaneshikawa prepares to leave, he mentions that after finishing his work for the day, he will head straight home. Misato watches him go, her expression unreadable, but her eyes follow him as he walks away. Later, Misato opens the small envelope that Kaneshikawa had handed her earlier. Inside, she finds a small amount of money, with a note apologizing for making her pay for lunch earlier. She is taken aback, wondering if it was really necessary. She is reminded of an earlier time Her colleagues are gossiping about her having made a mistake with a client that nearly caused the cancellation of a contract. At the office, Misato is apologizing to Kaneshikawa for the mistake. She bows deeply, taking full responsibility for the situation, stating that she will do whatever it takes to make amends. Kaneshikawa steps forward, suggesting they apologize together, taking part of the blame for not opposing the department manager's decision. They stand side by side, united in their apology. Afterward, as they sit on a train, Kaneshikawa reassures Misato that everything went well. He smiles, telling her that the sincerity got through to their superior and that they did a great job. Misato, still feeling conflicted, admits that the superior only accepted due to Kaneshikawa's good nature. He believes the manager is not so naive as to forgive someone who isn't sincere, and insists that she should be proud of herself, gently reminding her not to carry the burden alone and to rely on her seniors or colleagues when necessary. Later that evening, Misato is lying in bed, holding the note he gave her. She blushes as she recalls his soft, kind nature, finally letting herself acknowledge how much his support means to her. Kaneshikawa, meanwhile, reflects on his decision to give her the money, slightly embarrassed at his own gesture, but still thinking it was the right thing to do. Kaneshikawa stands in his office, surprised and concerned about being paired with Misato for an upcoming business trip to Kyoto. He nervously suggests that Misato might feel uncomfortable being alone with him, but their superior insists on it, counting on him due to his connections with an executive there. Misato, overhearing the conversation, expresses her willingness to go, stating that it will be a good learning experience under his guidance. As they arrive in Kyoto, the iconic tower stands tall in the background, marking their arrival. Inside a meeting room, Misato and Kaneshikawa present their proposals to the client. The executives on the other side review the documents carefully. The lead executive smiles, recognizing the mutual benefit for both companies, and expresses his approval of the proposal, promising to consider it thoroughly. Misato, maintaining her calm demeanor, thanks them for their cooperation, while Kaneshikawa, standing beside her, appears relieved yet determined. Later, the two men exchange pleasantries, recalling old times and commenting on how much they've changed or in some ways stayed the same. Kanda invites both Kaneshikawa and Misato to dinner at a restaurant they used to frequent. Misato, caught off guard by the casualness of the conversation, listens intently, showing a slight hint of curiosity. At dinner, the atmosphere is more relaxed. They sit around a table in a cozy restaurant, and Kanda brings up past memories, teasing Kaneshikawa about how he used to be. Kaneshikawa laughs it off, slightly embarrassed, but Misato remains quiet, clearly observing their dynamic. The topic shifts to how things have changed over the years, with Kanda complimenting Kaneshikawa on his growth and reflecting on how his career could have risen higher had he continued his old ways. Misato silently absorbs this information. Suddenly, Kaneshikawa's phone rings, interrupting the flow of conversation. It's a call from the department manager, and Kaneshikawa steps out to take it, leaving Misato and Kanda alone. Kanda, noticing Misato's interest in Kaneshikawa's past, begins to share more details. He teases her, suggesting that her curiosity about Kaneshikawa might be more personal than professional. Misato, taken aback, stammers and tries to explain that it's purely for work purposes, but her reaction gives away a mix of emotions. Kanda pulls out an old photo of Kaneshikawa, showing a much younger and sterner version of him. Misato studies the picture, surprised by the stark difference in his appearance. Kanda explains how Kaneshikawa was once feared by everyone in the office due to his strict work ethic and perfectionism. He rarely smiled, and although his performance was top tier, it made him a target for envy and rumors. Misato listens closely, struggling to reconcile the stern figure in the photo with the softer, more gentle man she knows today. As Kanda continues to speak, he recounts how Kaneshikawa's strictness was both admired and feared, but also how it eventually led to misunderstandings. Misato's thoughts linger on this image of Kaneshikawa, wondering how much he's truly changed from the person described in these stories. He became an outcast and tried to recover the mistakes single-handedly. He later resigned after assuming full responsibility. Kanda later learned he also had a fiancée, who left him since he was too engrossed at work. Perhaps that is why he has softened up so much. He then encourages her to make a move on him since he is single, but quickly apologizes for the inappropriate behavior. She does not feel offended and instead is happy for having such a competent boss. When Kaneshikawa returns from a call with the department manager, the conversation turns light again, but Misato remains lost in thought. As they order drinks, she goes with whiskey. Throughout dinner, she begins to reflect more deeply on her relationship with her colleague. Despite her occasional harsh words, she finds herself increasingly appreciative of his kindness and guidance. Finally, as the night ends, they begin heading towards the hotel. She's feeling too drunk, so he has to guide her to the room. He keeps apologizing, but she just feels warm. As he drops her to the room and begins to leave, she asks if he really needs to go. He replies that it has gotten late and they can talk tomorrow about work. In the shower, Misato is reflecting what she even meant by her own words. The next day, as they are congratulated for their performance, Kaneshikawa mentions how she got drunk and that she needs to be more careful next time. She agrees and notes that she'll only drink with him close by. He is not so keen by this, but she quickly turns around to start working. The conversation continues in the office as Misato is handed a project proposal by her colleague. She carefully reviews it, acknowledging that the company's management philosophy must be incorporated into the proposal. She instructs the colleague to include this critical aspect in their work. As they finish discussing, Misato wonders what Kida is up to, noticing him seemingly distracted. Kida nervously explains that he has been working on another project proposal, fumbling through his explanation while Misato watches sternly. As she turns her attention to Kida, her piercing look unnerves him and he quickly apologizes for not focusing on his tasks, assuring her that he will resume his work immediately. Meanwhile, Kaneshikawa appears, pleased with recent progress, returns to report that he has successfully closed a contract. Misato compliments him, but Kaneshikawa, appearing humble, admits it wasn't particularly difficult. Misato, unsatisfied with his modesty, scolds him for setting a poor example by not showing confidence. She insists he carries himself with more pride, much to the surprise of nearby colleagues who murmur about how she tends to be quite strict with Kaneshikawa. As the day moves forward, Misato reminds her team that despite their recent successes, they must continue to work diligently even though Kaneshikawa has been too lenient. Her words sting but motivate her team to improve their focus. As Misato watches over their work, a coworker comments on how they much prefer working under Kaneshikawa than someone who makes unreasonable demands like the department manager. Misato quickly interjects, reminding them that they must never forget her presence despite Kaneshikawa's softness. Her stern expression leaves them apologizing and scurrying back to their tasks. The workday winds down and Misato's colleagues prepare to leave, thanking her for her hard work. However, she remains at her desk, deciding to stay late to finalize a proposal, knowing that Bunhouse occasionally pushes up deadlines. Her mind races with the pressure of delivering a strong proposal on time, but she remains composed, ensuring her team can rest while she stays behind to handle the task. As she continues working late into the night, Kaneshikawa returns unexpectedly, offering her a treat, a cute cat-shaped bread. Misato, initially surprised by his gesture, hesitates, unsure of how to react to the adorable snack. He assures her that it is both delicious and meant as a token of appreciation for her hard work. Flustered, she accepts the gift, but expresses her frustration at being treated like a child due to the whimsical nature of the snack. Nonetheless, she thanks him and Kaneshikawa, always thoughtful, apologizes to her. If he were a bit stricter, she shouldn't have to play the role of the strict employee all the time. Misato reflects on his words, appreciating his gesture but unsure of how to express her thoughts. She tells him that if he truly means those words, he should begin showing some authority. He looks dejected, but she finds even this side of him very cute. She knows how he can start. He should be punishing her for speaking to him in such a rude manner. He hesitatingly punishes her for an hour of overtime. He doesn't want her to push herself too much as he already relies on her far too often. She knows this is far too kind. As she begins eating, her eyes widen in surprise. It really is good. Suddenly, she is stricken with an idea while she places the cat sticker on her computer. The following day, Misato's hard work pays off as her Cat Cafe collaboration proposal is chosen for the project. She casually mentions that she stumbled upon a good hint, remembering that the president of Bunhouse is fond of cats. She figured aligning the project with the president's preferences would help boost sales and align with their company's philosophy. Her colleagues are impressed by her thoughtful planning, praising her efforts. Kaneshikawa approaches to congratulate her, expressing how amazing she is. Misato remains composed, though her sharp gaze betrays her impatience. She wants him to focus his attention on Kida as she is sure he isn't spending his time doing proper work. With a confident look, Kaneshikawa approaches him. Instead of reprimanding, they begin talking about the idol. Misato shoots daggers with her eyes, and everyone in the office can notice the strict treatment from Misato. Misato is walking through a bustling shopping street, holding a small list in her hand. She reviews the items she needs to buy, mentally going over her shopping errands, which include everyday essentials like headache medicine and a pouch. As she walks, her relaxed expression indicates that she enjoys this break from her usual tasks, seeing it as a refreshing change and a possible source of inspiration for her job. Suddenly, her eyes widen in surprise and her heart skips a beat as she sees someone familiar nearby. Her calm expression shifts and we see her gaze intensely focused on a man standing ahead, a soft blush spreading across her face as her pulse quickens. She recognizes him as Kaneshiko-san, and her surprise is evident. She calls out to him, her voice filled with disbelief at the unexpected encounter. The man stands outside a drugstore with a gentle smile, completely unaware of the woman's initial shock. Just the previous day, she had asked him what he plans to do during the holiday they finally have, curious about how he spends his free time. He casually responded with a playful secretive air, thanking her for her hard work and wishing her a relaxing time off. She bows in thanks, clearly intrigued by his mysterious response, and watched him walk away. She's left pondering his plans, slightly frustrated at not getting a clear answer. Now she is following Kaneshikawa-san, intent on finding out his plan. He enters a bakery, his calm demeanor unchanged. Her thoughts swirl as she tries to rationalize the situation, insisting to herself that she's not following him, although she keeps glancing back toward where he went. She wonders if his trip to the bakery is for lunch and considers how odd it is to keep running into him. Her gaze follows him as he exits one bakery only to step into another one shortly after, adding to her confusion. She sneaks after him, trying not to be obvious, but the situation becomes increasingly strange as she finds herself entering the same stores as him. She picks up items in a store, still musing over his behavior, contemplating whether she should stock up on essentials. Her curiosity intensifies when she recalls the young and cute clerk who worked at the bakery and starts connecting the dots about Kaneshikawa-san's repeated visits to different bakeries. She begins to suspect that his interest may not be in the bread, but in the young bakery clerks themselves. This thought unsettles her as she remembers a previous instance when he showed interest in a graver idol that Kaida-kun had been watching. As she walks, her imagination runs wild, envisioning Kaneshikawa-san admiring the clerks with angelic fervor, an exaggerated vision of him floating while professing his adoration for the bakery girls. The idea disturbs her, and she grows more uncomfortable with the notion. At one point, she loses track of Kaneshikawa-san in the busy street. She looks around, slightly panicked, wondering where he disappeared to. Just as she's about to give up, he suddenly appears beside her, causing her to jump in surprise. They exchange awkward greetings, and she notes how their repeated encounters are becoming more of a coincidence than she expected. As they both stand outside a store, she notices his bag filled with bread and remarks that he's done quite a bit of shopping. He laughs lightly, brushing it off by saying it's just bread, while she tries to hide her growing embarrassment and unease as the situation continues to feel more bizarre by the moment. Kaneshikawa-san smiles warmly as he explains his love for bread, sharing that on his days off, he enjoys visiting different bakeries to try the most delicious varieties. The woman watches him with wide eyes, clearly taken aback by his enthusiastic confession. He casually mentions the specific locations where he goes for his favorite types of bread, from croissants to melon pan, even pointing out that the bread he gave her the other day was from one of his trips. She recalls receiving a cute cat-shaped bread. Her face tightens as she questions whether he goes to all these bakeries just for bread, and sheepishly admits that he does. He acknowledges that it might be embarrassing for someone his age to be so invested in trendy pastries, which are usually more popular with younger people. Noticing her slightly tense expression, he wonders if she's angry, but she sharply responds that she isn't. She bluntly asks if keeping such a hobby a secret was necessary, emphasizing that there's nothing wrong with it. In an effort to lighten the mood, he offers her one of the breads he bought, asking if she'd like to try it. She hesitates at first, but with a soft blush, she accepts his offer, thanking him. They both sit on a nearby park bench, unwrapping the bread. Kaneshikawa takes a bite and immediately expresses how delicious it is, savoring the flavors of butter and salt. The woman observes him quietly, her expression a mix of curiosity and reluctance. He enthusiastically praises the bread, asking her for confirmation, but she remains unsure how to respond. Kaneshikawa suddenly realizes he may have overstepped and awkwardly asks if this situation might be considered harassment, since he unintentionally dragged her into eating bread with him. Sweat beads form on his face as he fears he might have messed up. She sighs. She was actually the one who invited him to eat together. He relaxes, offering her more bread as a peace offering, but she politely declines, worried about gaining weight. She thanks him for the bread, standing up to leave. Before she goes, she pulls a small flower from her bag and hands it to him, softly saying that it's a token of thanks for the treat. Kaneshikawa looks at the flower in surprise, wondering aloud when he last received one. They part ways and she watches him walk away, feeling conflicted. Back in her apartment, her heart pounds as she recalls their time together, realizing that the simple act of sharing bread on a holiday almost felt like a date. Her mind lingers on the flower she gave him, a marguerite. Curiosity drives her to look up the flower's meaning, and she's shocked to find that it symbolizes secret love. Flustered, she tries to convince herself that the encounter was purely coincidental, but the meaning of the flower continues to weigh on her thoughts. Meanwhile, Kaneshikawa admires the small flower, appreciating its beauty, completely unaware of the hidden message behind it. The protagonists are nervously standing in front of a cheerful maid at a cafe. He blushes deeply as she encourages him to say the cafe's signature catchphrase, a cute line involving cats. He struggles to comply, stammering and embarrassed, but eventually, he manages to say the words, much to the maid's delight. Nearby, Misato is recording the situation with her phone. She coldly informs him that she won't be participating in the event, but is there purely to gather data. The atmosphere is light, and he reacts playfully to her refusal. Outside, as they are heading back, Kaneshikawa nervously asks if she captured any embarrassing moments while collecting data. She reassures him that she didn't intentionally take pictures of him and was focused solely on her task. He doesn't sound relieved and asks her to delete certain pictures that made him uncomfortable. As they continue walking, he recalls the cafe visit, admitting how exhausting the experience was compared to others. The woman stays calm and professional, emphasizing the importance of gathering as much information as possible for their project. This all started a week ago. In a traditional Japanese room, two men sit discussing a project in a beach house. One of them, older, reflects on how the place will close down after the next festival. He expresses his desire to make the final festival something truly memorable. The younger man, Kira, listens intently, offering his support. Their conversation turns towards creative ideas, with the younger man asks if he has anything in mind. The old man does, a maid cafe. After an initial shock, they start discussing ways to make it appealing to all guests, including the elderly and families who might not typically frequent such themed venues. As the conversation continues, the man reflects on his experience viewing a maid cafe. He mentions how he was initially drawn in by the novelty, but the politeness and hospitality of the staff won him over. The elder is intrigued by the idea, and they talk about reworking their proposal to include some elements from the maid cafe experience to give their event a fresh, unique appeal. Later, back in the office, Kita shares the details of the meeting. He requests Misato to gather data from a maid cafe. At first, she's taken aback, questioning why she would be chosen for such a task. He mentions that anyone unfamiliar with maid cafes would provide useful insights. As this beach is expected to have fireworks light up the night sky, so many elderly will also visit. The woman contemplates the task, agreeing that data gathering alone might be tough. After some thought, the woman agrees to help gather the needed information and looks to the others for their support in creating a balanced proposal. The three of them meet with a restaurant owner of the beach house. The older man explains that he's struggling to find certain ingredients and his regular customers would be upset if they aren't able to maintain the usual menu. Suddenly, some teenagers burst in and begin introducing themselves. The group reflects on how they had once caused trouble around the beach but now feel a deep sense of responsibility to make the event a success. They feel indebted to the older man for his kindness in the past, cleaning up after them and providing free meals. Now, as they assist with the final preparations, they hope to repay his generosity with a spectacular farewell event. The final conversation shifts to an emotional exchange where the elder shares his hope for a grand finale. He wants to leave a lasting impression before retiring, much like a fireworks display that ends in a brilliant, unforgettable spectacle. Everyone listening promises to help him make this dream a reality, each contributing what they can to bring the event to life. With renewed determination, the group prepares to set their plans in motion, knowing this will be a festival to remember. As the group disperses, the elder offers his final words, encouraging everyone to get back to work and make the event a success. There is a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose as they move forward with their preparations, eager to bring the beach house to life for one last memorable festival. Kaneshikawa expresses that he found it a bit embarrassing. There is a risk in reducing the overall happiness as it will be more focused towards a specific niche. Hearing this, Kaiva, the owner, understands that his request was far too unrealistic. Kaneshikawa continues, however, that even if it may be difficult to incorporate, he will make sure to do his level best. By including the positive aspects of both themes, he is sure to make it into a proper rest spot. Suddenly, Misato is struck with inspiration. She lets them know about her plan and they all agree. She also asks for the young people to help. They enthusiastically agree, voicing their eagerness. They cheer loudly as they volunteer, and Kaga, with a warm smile, says he's counting on them. As the group leaves, the beach house staff offer the team new swimsuits and suggest that they enjoy the water. Misato, reluctant to swim, watches as Kaneshikawa and the others dive into the sea, marveling at their energy and enjoyment. She remarks to herself that the beach is truly lovely, observing how much the team is enjoying the refreshing water. Kaneshikawa approaches her, commenting on the beauty of the beach. As he stands before her, droplets of water glisten on his skin, and Misato is momentarily flustered, her heart racing. She scolds him for getting carried away with the beach fun, but when he playfully suggests that she join them in the water, she throws a towel. Misato notes that they are still technically on a work assignment. Later, back at work as they begin departing and saying their farewells, Kaneshikawa discusses the beach house project further. He compliments her for coming up with such an innovative and balanced proposal. She responds humbly. She tries to apologize, but he denies it, saying she was right. She also softly compliments his well-toned body. He is unable to hear it, so he asks her to repeat. Misato tries to change the subject. Misato, gathering her courage, suggests they meet for drinks the following Friday, taking Kaneshikawa by surprise. The workplace is filled with the sound of conversations and laughter as Hinagata, dressed in her work uniform, stands surrounded by her colleagues. One of them thanks her, saying they are truly grateful for everything she has done. Another congratulates her, calling her by name. Hinagata smiles warmly, expressing her thanks to everyone. She is retiring due to marriage. Nearby, two of her male coworkers talk quietly. One mentions that it's going to be tough without Hinagata around, while the other notes that her husband has just been transferred. Later, Misato arrives with a bouquet of flowers and congratulates Hinagata. Hinagata, pleasantly surprised, thanks Misato for the beautiful bouquet. The two women share a warm moment, but in the background, the two co-workers whisper among themselves, surprised that Kaneshikawa, one of their colleagues, isn't married. They are curious about why Kaneshikawa isn't married, joking that he gives off an unreliable vibe, but with his calm demeanor, it wouldn't be strange if he had a wife. Meanwhile, Misato's expression turns serious as she warns them to stop spreading rumors and instead go and congratulate Hinagata. The workday continues. Misato, back at her desk, is approached by a younger colleague who comments on how happy Hinagata looked, lost in thought about how nice being married must be. Misato interrupts, reminding her that the lunch break is over. The colleague, undeterred, zooms over to Misato, nervously asking if Misato has any plans to marry. Misato responds flatly that she has no such plans at the moment, leaving her coworkers in awe. As they press her further, Misato considers the idea briefly but dismisses it, noting that her current focus is on helping her coworkers become as capable as she is. Later, Kaneshikawa is called from his desk and Misato watches him from afar. Her coworkers express doubt that marriage is in their future and Misato remains focused on her work, typing away at her desk. She reflects briefly on her single status, reasoning that there are still many things she wants to do and that being single allows her to stay focused on her job. Her satisfaction with her work keeps her busy and fulfilled. However, she is constantly thinking about Kaneshikawa due to the recent talks about marriage. She has no choice but to take a short break and walks away. She is able to catch Kaneshikawa's voice discussing some talks about marriage and is suddenly interested. The department manager and Kaneshikawa are discussing about an interested person who wanted to reach out to him. She is the daughter of the CEO of some client they were recently in contact with. Kaneshikawa isn't interested, but the manager insists on setting a date at least. Hearing this, Misato storms in and drags away Kaneshikawa, accusing the department manager of harassment. As they are about to leave, the manager once again talks, but this time to Misato. He mentions the CEO has a son around her age, and if she is interested, he can set up a meeting. She stops him, but Kaneshikawa interrupts and firmly warns the manager that he is overstepping his boundaries. Misato finds this act very warming, hoping that it was because he was interested in her, but he only did it to make her feel safe. He wants her to resign with a smile on her face rather than some case related to harassment. She blushes but quickly reminds that they have planned dinner together. They'd find themselves outside a restaurant. Misato had made a reservation under her name, but the restaurant staff cannot find it, leaving them both speechless. Despite her frustration, Kaneshikawa reassures her, pointing out that it was clearly the restaurant's error. As they leave, Kaneshikawa suggests checking his favorite restaurant as an alternative. Thankfully, Kaneshikawa's choice, a traditional Japanese ryoti, is available. Misato is impressed by the elegant setting, though he notes that it was not the Italian restaurant she had initially booked. Misato brushes it off, saying it's no trouble, and smoothly arranges everything. As they sit, Misato feels admiration for how effortlessly he handles the situation, much like how he operates at work. She muses to herself that it's his kindness and professionalism that she admires so much. The restaurant chef knows Kaneshikawa from past visits and greets him. She strikes up a conversation by commenting on the retirement of Hinata due to marriage, prompting Kaneshikawa to reflect on his own views about marriage. Misato listens attentively as she contemplates whether it's time for her to start considering it seriously. Misato, though nervous, admits that age differences don't bother her, sharing a personal story about her parents. Kaneshikawa is touched by her openness, and they enjoy their meal, the conversation turning more lighthearted. As the meal progresses, they discuss family, education, and their respective upbringings. Misato recalls her carefree childhood and how it contrasts with her current sense of responsibility. Kaneshikawa, impressed by her work ethic, notes that she's always on time and handles her responsibilities with ease. Their conversation shifts between lighthearted memories and more serious topics as they share details about their lives, finding unexpected common ground. At the end of the meal, they begin to drink together, with Misato joining in on the sake. They share a moment of laughter, but Misato is still focused on learning more about Kaneshikawa's thoughts on marriage. The conversation continues to flow naturally between them as they share stories, create any sense of mutual respect and understanding. George turns the focus to Kaneshikawa just as he has left. According to the chef, Kaneshikawa is insistent on only discussing work, even in the company of a lady who appears to have feelings for him. His demeanor is described as insensitive, with frustration expressed as he continues talking without considering the lady's emotions. He begins a flashback to his journey, where he worked hard to become a top chef in Japan after learning Japanese cuisine in his home country. Despite his efforts, he despised the fact that people only came to his restaurant because of the novelty of a foreigner cooking Japanese food. This led him to hire someone 30 years ago to help improve his culinary skills and be evaluated for his talents rather than for the novelty. Kaneshikawa told him that attracting customers is essential and his current foundation is weak. He states that the goal is to have as many people as possible enjoy first-class Japanese cuisine, but the chef interprets this as a criticism of his skills. However, the man clarifies that he is referring to money and connections, emphasizing that customers who come for novelty can still be potential connections and sources of funding. Reluctantly, the chef agreed to proceed, understanding the need to focus on expanding the customer base. Due to this, the chef's restaurant was featured on TV, a fact that initially irritated him as he felt like a spectacle. Despite this, after the broadcast, many people start visiting the restaurant. Some came out of curiosity, while others appeared to laugh at him. Despite these mixed reactions, he was surprised that the experience was better than he anticipated. An elderly man complimented the food, but also notes that while it's good, there is still room for improvement, both in the presentation and overall quality. Finally, someone offered to help him hone his skills further, and the chef reflects on the growth he has experienced over the years. He mentions that Kaneshikawa, once strict like a demon, has mellowed out with the patience of a saint. He comments that although he might seem calm now, his inner core hasn't truly changed, suggesting that the emotional walls around his heart remain sturdy. Misato is regretful that she wasn't able to get him to talk about love and marriage. As they are beginning to depart, she asks him if he prefers someone being proactive or reactive. After a short pause, Kaneshikawa selects proactive. She resolves to become even more proactive. He is impressed by her growth and offers her a warm goodbye. On the way back, she is wondering how to bring down the walls surrounding his heart. The beach house is bustling with activity during the summer festival. People chat excitedly about how successful Kaga's beach house has become. The group, relieved at the outcome, remarks on the great turnout. Her colleague compliments her yukata, stating how lovely it looks, to which Misato responds with a polite thank you. She had prepared heavily since she wanted to show off for Kaneshikawa. In a lighthearted moment, Kaneshikawa excitedly shows off a prize he won, declaring how much fun the festival is. However, he quickly gets reprimanded by Misato, who tells them he is getting carried away and to put the prize away. Apologizing quickly, he complies, acknowledging her strictness. At the festival food stalls, there's a cheerful server handing out a special bunny-shaped corn dog to a customer. The festive atmosphere is enhanced by the child-friendly vibe, despite the fact that the beach house was meant to have a maid cafe theme. The customers note that they were initially worried about the maid cafe style, but are now enjoying the lively and welcoming environment. The server brings 2 omusoba dishes to a table, thanking the patrons for waiting. One customer fidgets nervously, noting how out of place they were feeling before, but thanks to the hospitality and friendly nature of the server, they now feel comfortable. As they enjoy the food, Satoru arrives, looking proud and happy. Kaga's lighthearted comment about closing the shop after the festival sparks conversation about how much the business has grown, with more than 3 times the customers compared to previous years. Later, as the night continues, Kaga reflects on the years spent at the beach house, expressing their gratitude. Although he is saddened that the place will no longer operate, he has no regrets as he was able to witness the beach house bustling with people once again. The atmosphere turns nostalgic, with Kaga-san and others reminiscing about the good times spent there. There's a sense of pride as they talk about how the beach house had become a place for young and old to gather, recalling that it had once been a refuge for those who had lost their way. Satoru, filled with emotion, suddenly steps forward and asks to take over the beach house. This unexpected declaration catches everyone off guard. He explains that the beach house had been a place of redemption for him and others, where they were given a chance despite their troubled pasts. He begs Kaga-san to allow him to continue running the business so he can repay the kindness they all received. Kaga listens intently, with tears welling up. Others present echo Satoru's sentiments, pleading for the beach house to remain open. They admit how much the place means to them, how it saved them, and gave them purpose. Satoru insists that this isn't a sudden decision, as he has thought it through carefully. His plea is heartfelt, and he expresses his desire to take over the legacy that Kaga-san has cherished for so long. In the final moments, the conversation shifts to the broader perspective of how places like the beach house, with their long history and personal touch, are slowly disappearing in favor of more commercialized areas. There's a realization that keeping the place alive is no easy task, but Seikaru is determined to give it his all to ensure the beach house's legacy continues. With a final push, Kaga hesitatingly agrees, causing a massive uproar and cheers from even the customers. Later, they all begin separating. Misato follows Kaneshikawa, who asks if she got lost. She shakes her head, expressing that she's enjoying herself. He's surprised, wondering if he's bothering her, but Misato, her expression softening for just a moment, assures him that she's here by choice. The man stumbles in his response, caught off guard by her directness, and fumbles an apology. Misato, meanwhile, shifts her gaze away, internally reflecting on her growing feelings for him, feelings that are clearly causing her some discomfort. The two continue walking through the crowded festival together, though a subtle tension lingers between them. As they pass by some food stalls, Misato, now a bit more self-conscious, wonders if they look like a couple to the people around them. She keeps her thoughts to herself but can't help noticing the man's casual demeanor. They order shrimp crackers from a vendor. The mood is quickly disrupted when a bystander mistakes Misato for the man's daughter. Misato's eyes widen in disbelief, and the man awkwardly corrects the misunderstanding. The situation escalates into a mild argument, with Misato growing visibly frustrated. She tries to express that it's not the misidentification itself that bothers her, but rather how it distorts their actual relationship. The man, now flustered, struggles to explain himself, admitting that he can see why it upset her, but inadvertently making the situation worse by suggesting it wasn't too far off. As they sit together, waiting for the next fireworks display, the conversation returns to the festival. Looking at how Misato is still frustrated, he tries to ease the tension. Kaneshikawa comments on the nature of summer festivals, describing them as fun and full of tradition. It also begins praising the lively atmosphere and mentioning how great Misato looks in her yukata. Misato's reaction is almost immediate, her heart racing as his casual compliment catches her off guard. She's momentarily speechless, her mind spinning with the unspoken thoughts she's kept to herself throughout the evening. The fireworks explode in the sky, capturing their attention and giving them a temporary reprieve from the awkwardness. As the colors light up the night, they share a quiet moment of appreciation. The man smiles softly, commenting on how beautiful the fireworks are, and adds that he's glad the project was such a success. Misato, still distracted by her earlier emotions, barely manages to respond, too focused on the whirlwind of thoughts swirling her head. As the night draws to a close, Misato's feelings become too overwhelming to contain. Without thinking, she lets slip a quiet confession, saying the words out loud before she even realizes what she's done. However, the booming fireworks drown out of her voice, and she's unsure if he even heard her. The display continues, but for Misato, the moment feels suspended in time, her heart racing as she wonders what comes next.
Here I am.